The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
You don't know nothing about that, man. Tommy, this is Big Roy Foster. Oh, welcome to Uncle Bobby's Country Corner, where real men don't play. This is a homecoming of sorts today. Got two cats in the studio that I've known for quite some time, and it's an honor to have them in studio with me today. To my far left, all the way from Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Some people know him as Tommy Kane. Some people know him as Poverty. Welcome.
Welcome. It's good to see you again, Bobby. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, man.
Long time.
To my right, we had to widen the screen for this cat right here. His distinction is as an athlete. He's the only professional offensive lineman. Well, the only lineman to block for 2 Heisman Trophy winners and 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. He blocks for Charles White at USC. He blocked for Marcus Allen at USC. And then he was the first-round draft choice in 1982 by the Miami Dolphins. He spent 8 years with the Miami Dolphins taking care of Dan Marino. Then he went up to San Francisco and took care of Joe Montana and Steve Young. Welcome to Uncle Bobby's Country Corner, a friend for many, many years, Big Roy Foster.
Most important player in football, by the way.
Who's that?
That position, your position.
Oh, thank you, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Man, he knew what he was doing. The reason this is such an exciting show for me is that I used it as a hook for today's show. Do you really want to be in show business or the NFL? And both of those career paths come with quite a price. And you can speak to the entertainment side of it, and surely after 12 seasons in the NFL, you can speak to the rigors of making your living crunching heads with some of the biggest people on the planet. So I want to jump right into it by starting out with telling a story about how I met this cat right here, man. I was coming back from Denver, Colorado on an Amtrak. I'd been the best man at a wedding in Denver, and I ran into this young man. He was about 20 years old at the time, maybe. And we both smoked cigarettes, and we spent a lot of time in the smoking car.
Smoking train.
All right. And I'm looking at him like, who is this dude, man? He's talking fast, and he's got that young look. And he said, yeah, man, I just signed a deal with Jimmy Levine and Interscope Records, and I'm getting ready to make my mark in Hollywood. And I said, what's your name? He said, Poverty. I'm like, oh, Poverty? Yeah, what the hell is that all about? Right? And by the time we got to Los Angeles, we had formed a bond that surprised me because of the age difference and the fact that I'm really R&B fan. Matter of fact, me and him done sit front row at so many concerts it ain't funny,
right.
On the R&B side of the game.
Nice.
And here I am, done got to the point where I feel connected to this young man right here to the extent that he invited me to Larrabee Studios where you were doing an album project. So kind of speak to how you ended up on the train, on your way to what you thought was a destiny as the real deal when it comes to hip-hop rapping from the white side of the game.
Well, when I was on the train, I was actually in a bidding war between Jimmy Iovine and Ted Field.
Okay.
And so I was going to get a deal. The question was with who. Mm-hmm. And both of them were giving me lots of money trying to make me make a decision. It started off with kindness and bags of money and rental cars, and then eventually it started to work towards threats and like people showing up at my hotel like, you make a decision yet? I'm not even kidding either. But that's what I was doing when I took the train out. And the truth is that back then I was petrified to fly. I was scared to fly. I'm not anymore, but I was then. And I used to think like I was going to die all the time. I was like having like everything was just too good to be true. Like I was like, I'm just going to die. I get on a plane, I'll die, and I'll never get my deal or whatever. So I'm
not flying with you.
Yeah. You've flown a lot, though, right?
Oh my God!
So
I've had that same feeling.
Exactly. Yeah, man. So that was why I was on the train. If you remember too, that what made you? Do you remember what made you talk to me?
Break it down, man.
It was the old man that yelled at my friend for swearing in front of his wife.
Oh, yes. That took me back to the South, you know. 'Cause I wasn't really ready for that. I wasn't ready for it at all, man. Matter of fact, I thought it was going to be some furniture moving around.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
He was like a military old man. This dude was not playing, and he looked at my boy and was like, and he was old. He was like, at the time, he was an older guy. He was like probably, I don't know, like, I don't remember, but he was up there. But he looked good for his age because he was military, you know, like that stocky. But he was just like, boy, don't you swear around my wife. And I remember just being like, I looked at my boy, and my boy was like a street dude, but he was just like, and I knew he was about to get mouthy and be on some like, oh, who are you talking to? And I was like, just put the brakes on that and was like, man, you know, sorry about that. And like shook his hand and was like, it ain't going to happen again. Because I respect people. I respect my elders especially. So I was like, you know, and that was apparently one of the things that it made him want to talk to me was, remember you told me?
I was shocked, you know, because the cat he's talking about was black, right?
Oh, wow, okay.
And I was like, well, I don't even understand this relationship. I would expect him to be respectful, you see.
Right.
But he stepped up. And I'm like, now I'm scratching my head. And then he said, well, I said, where are you sitting at? He said, I got a sleeper car. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, man. Y'all look like y'all getting ready to stick somebody up, you know?
Right.
And then but by the time we got to Los Angeles, man, I kind of just, you know, connected to him in a way that I didn't expect to, you know. And we haven't seen each other in, 10 years?
It's been about, I actually was thinking about, I think it's like 9, almost exactly 9 years.
Yeah, man. And he reached out to me a few days ago over Facebook, and he kept saying his name was Tommy, right? And I'm like, who the hell is Tommy? And then he said, Poverty. I said, oh, my God, man. So he's like a little brother to me, man, you know. And I went through a lot of the situations he was dealing with, and he trusted me, and I trusted him enough to just say, you know what, man, this is an odd couple, but we know we're going on with this. When
I met him on that train, we had a conversation that had to be for, it seemed hours. I mean, we were on the train a long time together from there, and it was one of the most remarkable, intelligent conversations I've ever had with anybody. And I'm a fan of that.
Right.
You know,
Bobby will do that to you. It'll get intense. It'll get rich quick.
It was like life-changing, world-altering. Some of the stuff he told me changed my life, literally, and helped me change other people's lives because I've passed on that advice to a lot of people who call me and thank me for giving it to them. So it's just this guy has made a lot of positive waves in the ocean, man, like that are just still rippling out, and who knows how much more ripple we have to go. But
there's a reason why you reached out, you know, and the timing is perfect because each of these relationships are dynamic and fluid with me. Even though he was raised in L.A., he got country roots, man. And I met him through a mutual friend, a musician friend of mine named Dee Bradley, who you met back in that time that we were interacting frequently. And that's been about 20 years ago. I knew who he was because I watched him play when he was at USC, right? And he was the second generation of really big guys that could run. Mm-hmm. All right. And he turned that corner in front of Charles White, and that's how he ended up with that Heisman Trophy. And then the next time I saw him, he was blocking for Marcus Allen, and he made first team. He was the first winner of what's the award that you won?
Is that the Morris Trophy?
The Morris Trophy that was signified the outstanding offensive lineman in the country. Okay. Wow. And I said, damn, man, they kept calling his name out, Roy Foster, and then they showed him turn that corner, and then Marcus Allen was on his way to a Heisman Trophy. And then he went to the Miami Dolphins.
So you were both inside and outside, right?
Yeah, we flipped the formation back in those days, so I could play left or right guard, depending on the play, depending on the lineup or the tight end is, which is a strong side. So, yeah, I was well-versed in playing both guards, but I ended up playing left guard for the Dolphins for 9 years and then went to Frisco and had to switch over to right guard. And there was a time or two where I'd forget, and I ran into the other guard, because he pulled too. So we met each other at the center. So I had to get used to that. Yeah.
And what was so interesting for me, being a person that grew up in the South where football is just the king, in Tennessee. And so I had an intimate understanding of the game. So I would watch him without knowing who he was. And so by the time I met him, it was in a family situation because he's got a beautiful family. And his mother, God rest her soul, man, she treated me like family. And it was just, we just got tight, just on that family tip, man. This was long after he had retired from the game. Which takes me to this question. I saw some pictures with you and Lawrence Taylor.
Okay.
All right. Was he the toughest guy you ever had to play against?
And the word tenacious comes out. A lot. You got to remember now. I've got to handle. Mike Singletary. Reggie White. Bruce Smith.
Oh Lord.
The list goes on. We had a bunch of guys back.
Hall of Famers. Every one of them. He's just fidgeting and monster.
It was interesting back those days.
Yeah.
The rules were different. Yeah.
Now, you were mentored by Larry Little, right?
Not so much Larry, more so Anthony Munoz. Talking back in college days, and then my mentors became like the Dwight Stevensons and the Ed Newmans,
the Hall of Fame center.
Yeah.
But you got to know Larry Little.
Oh yeah, he came around camp frequently, and I watched a lot of his film.
Because he reminded me of Larry Little because he was the precursor to him in terms of being just extremely large.
Well, I don't know about that.
What?
I don't know if you can throw me in a Larry Little conversation. I really shouldn't be mentioned.
Well, I can do it because I know I seen both of y'all play.
Right.
And see, Larry Little played in front of Mercury Morris and Larry Zonk.
I know Mercury Morris.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I'm like a football nerd.
Okay. Yeah, man.
I love the game.
He changed the game, because he come around that corner, man, and there go the linebacker and DB. It's like unbelievable, man. And then I remember him getting out around that corner, man, at 275, 280 pounds, man. It's like, oh, Lord Jesus, man, I could have played behind him, and that wasn't even my sport. But he was a gentle giant outside of that. But when he was on that football field, he was about that business. And I was sharing with him a piece that came out on Sports Illustrated today because of his ongoing relationship with both franchises, the Miami Dolphins and the San Francisco 49ers. He still is in tune with what's going on in the sports, And I remember when Kaepernick first had the issue about standing for the national anthem, I reached out to him because I wanted Cap to speak with the great Jim Brown, who you've met, and he's been to Jim's house as well on numerous occasions. And on one occasion, he's lucky to be here, and I ain't seen him on that motorcycle since. Because he used to live up in Hollywood Hills, too.
Oh, he did?
Right.
You know he lived.
He riding a motorcycle.
8th grade streets.
Right. Do you live here now or you visiting?
No, I live in Hollywood, yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, he's back.
Oh,
He just came back about a month ago
cool.
now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. But,
it feels good to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You miss Boston?
No.
Not really, okay.
Yeah, people were, home is great and everything sometimes, but I don't know, a little too myopic.
Right.
A lot of myopic thinking going on.
Right.
Well, in my circles that are difficult to get out of unless I'm out here.
Right.
But
did you ever know Whitey Bulger?
Well, that's an interesting question. Me personally, no, but I know quite a few people that did, and people that are in my family.
I have no idea. No.
They made a movie about his life. He was the most wanted man in America for about 15 years?
No, I think longer than that. Probably like 25 years. But they caught him in Santa Monica.
Yeah.
Jaywalking? Or what was
no. He was at home, man. They finally decided to arrest him, man. They had to know where he was at, man.
But
he personally killed about, 40 people or some stuff like that? And had
a lot of...
He was 100 killed. Oh, man.
He was one of those guys that he would send a couple young kids into a corner store, say, hey, go smash out the windows in this guy's store and threaten him with a baseball bat or something. And they'd go do it. And then he would show up later and be like, hey, these kids around here, they listen to me. And if you want me to make sure that they don't do this again, you need to pay me. Yeah, right. It's that tactic. Right. And but he started to get to the point where the FBI was investigating him. And then he had an in because I forget if the guy was related to him.
He was a young friend. He was a little younger than him, and he became a FBI upper management type cat. Right?
Oh, really?
And he gave him a license to kill, man. They did what was the name of that movie they did about
I can't even remember, but it was just
man.
recently.
Oh, yeah. And he was. I didn't really understand the underbelly of Boston till I met him, and then he told me where he came from, because he was from the wrong side of the tracks, and he went through a lot of the same things that poor black kids go through. And when he came to L.A., Eminem was getting all of the traction, right? And Vanilla Ice and all of them perpetrators, but he was actually the real deal when it comes to how he was raised, and he knows them streets better than he wanted to know them. And it also made him comfortable in our culture. So I'm going to take a moment. I'm coming back to you in a minute, Roy, but what is it about you that allowed you to transform from this ghetto kid to someone that all of a sudden was the darling of Hollywood, particularly the record industry out here?
I think it's a couple things. I mean, like as a young kid watching my mom doing the crap that she was doing, I just kind of knew what I didn't want to do, what I didn't want to be, and how I didn't want to be, or whatever. And I don't know where it comes from or how it was instilled in me. I've developed a relationship with my dad recently, who I didn't know then, and he doesn't really have this thing that I have either. So I don't know where it comes from, but I just have this sort of like relentlessness to succeed, and I just don't. I don't like to take no for an answer, and I just like to. I like to hard focus on what it is I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to go after, and I just never ever once believed anything was impossible. I used to just believe like, oh, I need a record deal. Okay, I'll get Jimmy Iovine to hear my music. It was like that's what I need to do. It didn't seem like celebrities were anything other than just some person that I was a bus ticket away from meeting. Like nobody seemed out of my reach or whatever. So everything just seemed really possible and kind of easy. And I think it was because everything seemed that way to me. It sort of was. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. But.
So how did you end up in the movie game too?
Well, that was that's funny. That's actually a funny story. I was dating an actress, and she had been trying to be an actress in Hollywood for like, I don't know, a long time, 7 or 8 years, and she had never gotten her break. And then I just told her one day, I said, we got some downtime going on. I need to be doing something. The music thing's kind of on hold. I'm going to go be in a movie. She was just like, you can't just go be in a movie. So I went to a Hollywood party, and this guy walked in, and he had a yarmulke on his head. And I said, who is that? And they said, he's like this big Hollywood agent. And I said, oh, okay. So I went and asked him. I saw him go outside for a cigarette. I went outside, and I just said, you need to put me in a movie. And he looked at me, and he was like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to put you in a movie out of all the millions of people out here who want an agent, or I'm supposed to put you in a movie. And he's like, why should I work with you? And I said, because I know it's not all about me, it's about you too, and that this is something we both got to do together. I got to make you look as good as like I got to worry about making sure that if I get a role in a movie that I have to look good, so you look good, And he was like taken aback by the way I was just kind of fast talking him a little bit, but it kind of just made him like me. And then as soon as the conversation was over, I got his number and he asked to work with me. And then it was like first couple days he was my agent. He said, would you like to be in Waist Deep? It's a Ted Field movie, which I knew, hey, that's great because Ted Field was the guy who signed me. So I went and told Ted, I said, I'm trying out for this role. I went in and I tried out, and then Ted called me up and was like, they loved you and you got it. That was it.
Now, who all was in Waist Deep?
Tyrese Gibson, Megan Good, the rapper The Game.
And that was your entree into the film industry. Mm-hmm. Now, how did you stay grounded through all of that, man? Because, like I said, all of this happened to the naked eye overnight. So, how were you able to maintain a certain balance, man, dealing with Hollywood? In terms of what do you mean? Well, you kept your circle tight.
Back
in that day, because you had a couple cats who came out here from Boston with you that stayed right there in the pocket with you. But at that point, you was hot as fish grease, man, and a lot of things were just you were favored. You know, you were different, but at the end of the day, that kind of worked against you too. You know,
it did. I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't know. I just I had certain people around me that I knew that I trusted, that were like sort of my people that I brought from the East Coast with me. And then there was just I was fortunate to immediately build relationships with the right people who were getting me in the right doors, like almost immediately. I mean, I was hanging out with Paris Hilton like less than 2 weeks after I got here. It was really weird because even before I had gotten my record deal, I was 1 week I was a homeless kid staying at a homeless shelter in Portland, Maine. And then a week later, I'm at a Hollywood club, and literally I'm at this table, and it's Fred Durst, and it's Pamela Anderson, and it's Chris Rock, and it's, you know, and Mark McGrath, and all these people. They're all sitting around me, and I'm hanging out talking with all these people like it ain't nothing. I got paparazzi taking pictures. Pamela Anderson's dancing around me, throwing a lei around my neck, and all this stuff. And I was just like, it was crazy. And then like a couple weeks after that, I had to go back to the East Coast. But when I went back there, I had nowhere to live, so I was back in the shelter. And like I couldn't even tell anybody there what I just did the week before, because nobody would ever believe me. So it was really just like almost like bipolar or something. I don't know how to explain it, but it was really strange, man. And I went through a series of that for several months until I ended up getting my deal. And then and I was fortunate because my introduction into Hollywood was Shifty from Crazy Town, who was at the time, before the drugs and before the insanity and all the crazy stuff that happened to him, he was one of the most powerful and at the top of the game celebrities there were in the world. I mean, he had a #1 song on the Billboard charts for, I think he broke the all-time record at the time. So everybody loved him. I mean, he was favored by Puff Daddy, and all these people loved him. And so when I came out here and I started working with him and writing songs with him, he was getting me in the door everywhere. I mean, it was literally like any red carpet event, anything, we just walk right in. I was fortunate to get the introduction into Hollywood from a guy at that level at the time.
So, Roy, what was your first challenge? You know, you were a star athlete in football and baseball in high school, and you end up going to the school for football during that era. What was your first challenge, man, in terms of not getting caught up in the dark side of being a star athlete?
Really just being focused. A lot of people don't know this. I tried to quit twice. Once in high school and once my freshman year in college. I wasn't starting, I wasn't playing, just practicing. A bit of blocking dummy for, first few weeks or whatever, a few months or whatever, and just got homesick. And I got homesick, and I'm at home. I'm in L.A., so, I had to realize this is hard work. My mother told me, hey, look, digging ditches is hard. In other words, you can go get your job at McDonald's or do whatever, or you can go get this thing. Mm-hmm. She saw it. I didn't see it. I don't know if she knew the magnitude of pro football or anything, but she knew I could get an education and then, proceed and maybe play professional sports. So I just hung in there. And so Calvin Sweeney, good friend, he actually saved me and said, hey, look, they got plans for you,
So the guy he just mentioned, he was an All-American wide receiver who preceded him by a couple of years. And he went on to a lengthy career with the Pittsburgh Steelers, got a couple Super Bowl rings, and you're going to get to meet him after the show if you got a couple minutes.
Okay. Yeah, no, yeah. Oh, no, I've got plenty. Yeah,
okay. And he has let me into that world, this fraternity that they have, all these USC alums, And we finished the story about your with Calvin pulling your coat and why y'all stayed close for years.
I'm not hearing anything, but I got on the bus at the corner of Jefferson and Figueroa. There's an old Felix Chevrolet right across the street. Uh-huh. And I'm sitting there, and I got literally that whole thing of a knapsack on a stick and my stuff, and I'm out of here. And I got a full ride at a kid from Compton. I got a full ride at this private university. And my thought is really to go work for McDonald's or do something. This whole school thing, 13th grade, whatever it is. And so
that sounds like some Jeff Robo.
You're like, wait, I got to keep going to more school?
It was like 3 more years after this. I thought I graduated.
Right.
So, but But I just tucked my tail. I said, and I listened, and worked a little more harder, a little harder in practice, and a little more focused, and it just worked out. It just things just started working,
Well, then now you in the lineup, and in those days, and it's still that way today. Premier and elite athletes, they get favorites. So outside of just your family upbringing, was there something instinctive about not, yielding to the temptation of just, being satisfied with, the growing accolades and attention that you was getting that kept you from just riding that out and being satisfied and just having a great college career? What pushed you over the hump to the point where you went to that next level of intensity?
You know what? I always go back to my mom, and what she may be thinking or whatever, and you just want to show off, especially in front of your mother, and you got that thing you want to just do and say, Mom, look what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I hit a home run or did whatever, So I'm playing for, national championship Trojans, and then the spotlight's kind of a special deal. And didn't want to I got brothers and sisters I didn't want to let down, and cousins, the whole thing, just like most kids. And so I just kind of hung in there, and things just started just coming together. And I didn't understand football. I hated it at first. I hated the game. I thought I was a basketball player.
Yeah, I saw you jump shot. You did the right thing.
Yeah. No, you didn't.
That's funny. That's funny. I got fouled though.
Oh Lord,
that's
funny.
Yeah, it's a good deal. Have you ever had any? I don't know why I want to ask you. You said Boston, right?
Yeah.
Any run-ins with New Edition or the Wahlberg brothers or family or whatever?
My producer DSP, Desmond DSP Powell, who is the greatest producer I've ever met in my life. He used to work with a lot of those people back in the day. And he's worked, he's worked with me and many other people through Boston. And Mark Wahlberg, I met one time and I had a great conversation with him. It was very brief, but I was introduced to him from Ted Field, and I just walked up to him and I said, we started talking. So I said, "Hey, Mark, I'm Tommy, blah blah blah," and he was like, "Hey," and we talked for a few minutes about Boston, and then I said, I just said, you seem like a pretty nice guy. I thought you'd be a dickhead. And he looked at me and he said, "Why?" I said, "I don't know. A lot of people around here say you're an asshole, and I thought when I met you, you're going to be one."
Funny.
And he just started laughing. He said, "Well, you know what?" He goes, "Well, you know why that is, Tom?" He said, "Because I blew up and became famous as a rapper." And he said, "And I saw everybody jump on the bandwagon." And he said, "And then I lost everything, and I saw everybody quickly jump off. And now I became successful as an actor, and they all want to jump back on again. And I guess you can say that my guard is up, and that's probably why they all think I'm an asshole."
Right. You got a pretty good hamburger.
Who does?
Wahlberg, the Wahlburger, or whatever. They got a couple restaurants around the country, I think. So.
Yeah. There's some. Actually, who's got a really good burger? You just made me think of this. You ever been in Pittsburgh, Jerome Bettis' restaurant?
I have not, but I've heard that. Really?
Yeah. He used to buy advertisement from me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, back in the day.
You're going to make me fly in there.
Yeah. Oh, his place is off the hook.
Really?
It's a little pricey, but it's worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a short pause for the cause, and we'll be right back with my man Poverty and Big Roy Foster, 2 and 2. with Tommy, a.k.a. Poverty Kane, and Big Roy Foster. You had a question you wanted to ask Big Roy.
I do. Okay, so Roy, in my experience, because I am a insanely diehard football fan. I obsess over football. I love the sport. In my experience with meeting a lot of football players, I often find that they are always like, it's weird. It's like artists kind of worship athletes, and athletes kind of are always like, man, I love artists. It's like we're always kind of wishing we could be on the other side. But after you said you tried to quit several times and that it wasn't really your passion, all this stuff, until you kind of realized through your mom and everything that, that's what made you want to keep going. Looking back on it now and with the education that you have now and the broadened horizons that you have, because I'm sure you've traveled in like lots of places now and you have all this perspective. Looking back, is there anything else that you look back on and think, man, I would have loved to have done that? Not like with regret, but
in some other field?
Yeah, like something else that you would say,
I don't know if I can say this. I wanted to get in the entertainment business.
Really?
Yeah, I've always kind of wanted to sing background or just hang out, hang out with some group that's just struggling and traveling and doing their thing,
Yeah.
Probably that, for the most part.
He's a corner boy.
That's awesome.
In his spirit, he's a corner boy because his older brother, Big Tony, they got a doo-wop group, and they was tight, man, and his love for the music, it rivals mine, and we have that in common. Matter of fact, he's got some rare footage of Marvin Gaye doing some stuff that no one else has ever heard, so I can see where that answer came from. Man. He's a huge music fan. Yeah.
So I was kind of excited. I was actually excited when you was coming because it had something to do with the entertainment and music. Yeah. I like hearing you talk and go back.
You know what's interesting about, because really, man, when I first met him, he was right, man. My whole attitude about hip hop was like, oh man, this is the beginning of the end, right? And I was like, what kind of music are you going to put together? And am I going to have to fake like I'm cool with this? Because when I went in the studio with him, I was like, I didn't know what to expect, man. And then when I got in there, the first thing that I was impressed with was the fact that even though it wasn't a band in there, it had a feel to it. It had a groove that kind of got my attention. And then when he got to spitting, I was like, where you been, man? Because he's coming from somewhere that's really urban, you know what I mean? And it opened up my perspective as to the fact that as much as color dominates in our society, even to this day, because some of the things that you said today, it speaks to your privilege without you even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course.
Because
absolutely.
Me and Roy could think like that, but they'd have kicked us out the door, man. There's some of the places they welcomed you. But I don't begrudge you for that. I embrace it because it didn't affect our relationship whatsoever. I always just looked at you as somebody that's Tommy, and I'm down with Tommy. But as I look back at that, what drove your music, man, to the point where the biggest challenge for him, and I really felt for him during that period, was they didn't really know how to package you.
No, they didn't. They didn't.
That was the biggest problem because he didn't sound like you would expect him to sound.
I don't even look like a rapper. I look like the white guy who works at your local Verizon wireless family. I don't have any tattoos. I'm not cut up. I don't even look like a rapper.
Right.
But I'll tell you, like, I love writing songs, and the biggest mistake I think that happened in my career is that when I hear a body of music that I love, I hear a song finished on it. It's done. The job is basically, okay, the song, I hear it, I know what it's got to be, and I make it. But it's not always for me. It's just the song that I heard that needed to be made. And instead of like being an artist, I think what I should have been doing all these years is writing for other people, because I love writing for other people. If you give me an artist and tell me, hey, go sit in a room with Katy Perry for an hour and, write her a song, I would talk to Katy Perry for 45 minutes and find out everything I need to know about her. And then I would deliver something that would be almost like she wrote it. That's what I love to do. So I think that that's kind of one of the things that kind of was the problem back then, was being the artist instead of the guy that's behind the scenes. But the driving force behind my music was that Michael Jackson was my biggest inspiration in music. I loved him more than any artist ever. I was a fan of a couple other people when I was younger. And if I told people who they were, they'd be like, really, like Phil Collins and Tracy Chapman, and like, I mean, it's a really mixed bag of different things that inspired me. But Michael Jackson was the biggest, like, because he made these songs that were about changing the world in a major way, like really making songs that were like, you wanted to dance to them and you sang along to them and you felt them, but they were also like really meaningful and powerful and like real, and had to do with real problems, like, and real things that were going on. And I remember when I was a kid, I remember just being so in awe with him that I was like, I want to do that, you know? I want to make music that's going to affect people the way this music is affecting me. That was what made me really want to get into music. And then I sort of had a sour taste put in my mouth when I realized that music had gotten to this point where it was really an industry now. Is really, you're a product in this industry, and you got to be, and everything's kind of marketing, and it's all this and that, and yeah, it just kind of bummed me out a little bit. I had to realize it was a business, and it was kind of growing up, you know, going more from that idealistic child to that sort of cynical adult. I went through that phase, I guess you could say, but yeah. It's like,
you know, since I met you, Roy, you have some unique friendships that when I stack it up over, you know, the period of time in my life and the people that you have associated with, what is it about the USC experience that has created the camaraderie between you and Calvin and Rod Martin? You know who Rod Martin is? He was the Player of the Year. What was that?
Raiders.
Yeah, he was all pro, Super Bowl,
yeah.
Incredible. You know, and all these cats came out of SC, man, and they are especially tight. All of his friends, you know. What is it about the USC experience that created that camaraderie that I haven't seen amongst other school athletes, particularly black athletes? What is it about that experience that brought y'all so close together?
You know, it's a bit of a vacuum. We've always kind of been like that. And it's been the great players before us, you know, and it's just held tradition. And we've always just kind of stuck together. We've been family for, as soon as you walk into those doors, you're family now, you know, and it's, you know, I would imagine it's like that in a lot of universities, but, you know, USC's one of those places, you know, it's the granddaddy. The Rose Bowl used to be the granddaddy of them all. You know? Right. And so we've always just, you know, known each other and just been family for years. I may not see Marcus for years, where we're going to embrace and talk about old times and things of that nature. So it's just been that camaraderie.
that's why I love football.
Yeah,
because it creates that right there.
Yeah,
That's
and
why
I
love
miss it too. I miss all that pain. Believe it or not, I miss, I miss payday, obviously. But I miss that hot sun. I miss strapping on that helmet and getting down at 3-point stance and looking into that guy's eye and getting after it. You know, I wish I could do it again. You know, but time moves on.
Now, Dan Marino is considered one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. What made him, in your estimation, different from? Cause you played behind a number of quarterbacks, a number of Hall of Famers that people didn't know. Like somebody just told me earlier today that you blocked for Dan Fouts.
Yeah, we were in the Pro Bowl together.
Yeah,
it was brief.
You know, so these are all Hall of Fame cats. What was it that made him? He reminded me of Joe Gilliam.
Yeah.
For those that don't know who Joe Gilliam was, Gilliam was Dan Marino.
Right. Personified.
Different paint job. You know. But what was it about Dan that made him Dan Marino?
Dan was fearless, man. He could throw in the rain. You know, he could throw through buttermilk. I mean, he could just get it figured out. And he had great receivers. I mean, Mark Duper, Mark Clayton was just exceptional. You throw in some Nat Moore and some other folks, and so. But Dan was just fearless, man. Probably the greatest quarterback to not win a Super Bowl.
No doubt
about it. It's a shame
he
didn't get to win a Super Bowl.
Now, Marino, then you go to San Francisco, and Montana's under the,
Yeah, it's just another special guy. Yeah, you're just talking about using the system to the fullest. Montana couldn't throw across the street. But it didn't matter because he had Rice and he had Taylor, you know, and those slants were just vicious. That West Coast offense was just, he ran it to perfection. So,
Steve Young.
Another one, a total athlete. This is a guy who could beat you on the basketball court and the baseball diamond and all of it.
Great athlete.
Knack. Yeah, he's an all-around athlete. And a lot of times he'd get to scooting, meaning that he'd pick up the yards with his feet. Mm-hmm. Steve Young could just get it done. He'd get it done in a bunch of different ways.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's the rapport like between when you're in the huddle and it's a rough situation, you're battling for supremacy on an elite level? What's that rapport like between the offensive lineman, the leader? I mean, how does that really work, because everybody got to do their job. You hear that all the time from the Bill Belichick disciples. But what makes that work to the point where you play championship football? Because you played in 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, well, there's that look that the seriousness of the moment and what we've got to get done here. And they're probably doing the same thing on defense. But we don't care about that. We've got stuff to do here. Mm-hmm. And this 4th and 1, we got to have it. If we get stopped, the game's over. Mm-hmm. So the importance of it is just what it is. Just do your job. Don't try and do somebody else's job. Just do your job. We all work like a chain link fence. They all got to come together, like the chain on the bike. Has to all come together. And if everybody knows the moment, forget about the crowd and the millions of people on television watching and
you ain't got
all
time
that stuff. We ain't got time for all that. I can't hear none of that. Yeah.
Now,
that's awesome.
When you would get into your stands and look across the field, who made you for just an instant say, damn, here we go again? What player did you have? Did you have that kind of feeling about it?
Yeah, I had that with Lawrence Taylor. Yeah, I can remember trying to chop block him one time. He timed it so, and I thought I timed it perfectly. Mm-hmm. He timed it better.
So that's the difference.
He jumped over me and made the sack. I mean, like I'm on the ground looking back. I was like,
I thought I got
that guy. I was like, wow, this is not good.
Wow.
So,
he was so superhuman.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah.
Now you played against the late great Reggie White. Did y'all ever just go straight at each other?
Yeah. Several times we locked horns, and I lost most of those battles. I won a few. I won a few. He was special. He was mostly on the tackle though.
But every now and then they would do whatever y'all do.
The tackle would come back in the huddle and say, "Hey, look, dude, I need some help." Because I'm just hanging out. So, but those were some good times.
Yeah. And how much did it help you that you were running back in high school, right? Did you play running back?
Well, and remember now, my first level was basketball, and that's where I got my agility and my, and
you keep going back to that.
Things.
I seen it jumping, man. Right. It's like, man, he did the right thing, man.
I hadn't warmed up properly. I need 2 more Big Macs.
Ain't good for. I'm messing with it, man.
And it wasn't a basketball.
Right.
So.
You hear LeBron James said something about wanting to play football?
I heard that too.
There's some comedy.
And I think he can do it.
You think so?
I think he could do it, actually. He could do it. Yeah. Tight end something.
That's what I keep thinking, tight end. Man.
I don't know, man. If you remember when Ronaldo Nehemiah tried to play football?
Right. Until
the greatest hurdler we ever saw. I mean, he was just flawless over them hurdles, man. But come across that middle, found out it's a little bit different proposition, man. I don't know. It takes years to get used to that contact, I think, man. And it would be rough for anybody, including LeBron, to make that adjustment to that contact.
That'd be tough.
Julian Edelman.
That's
all I gotta say. That's the best guy I've ever seen do it.
Oh, yeah. Right. It's a good reference.
He's tough, man, and being a New England guy, you would understand that. Now, he's different
beast.
too, man. He's just so goddamn big. Man. Shit. It does matter, that you are that big.
He's a matchup problem. Big
time.
What you got cooking now, man? What brought you back to the West Coast?
I am doing an augmented reality tech company, and we are working on a augmented reality application, and basically it's going to be a game changer. I wish I could say specifically what we're doing.
I know you can't. Yeah.
I can't, but it's we're working on something real special. So I started a company. I had gotten to a point in my life. Like I was explaining to him earlier, where I sort of just hit this sort of rock bottom and got fed up with making excuses and feeling sorry for myself and where I was at in life. And I said, I got to make some changes. And I just got this incredible stroke of I don't know how to explain it, ambition,
genius,
fire behind me, and I just, I came up with this idea, and it would turn out that one of my friends, Jeremy Green, who lives out here in Hollywood, he is the guy who invented Snapchat animated video filters, which you see, I'm sure, all over the internet. Whenever you're looking at internets, you'll see you'll see like girls with profile pictures where they have like a beaver nose or like bunny ears on their head or whatever, and they're like animated. He invented that idea, and he got this development company to build it, and then they sold it to Snapchat. And so he was sort of like, the fact that I knew him and that he came from Maine and that, he had this insane story, I reached out to him, or he reached out to me, actually. It was weird. But then I sort of like followed up, and then we sort of connected, and I asked him about his development team, and I told him about my idea, and he said, well, I can't hear your idea because of my situation. He was like, but if you can get some things going yourself, then, come and talk to me when you can lay the groundwork yourself. So I made a ton of phone calls for about a month, and I found out who his development team was, or at least most of the people who were involved in developing several things for him. And I contacted them and got them to work for me. And we started to put together this development team to build my idea. And I got a really good lawyer to help me put in a provisional patent on it. And 3 weeks after I created my company, I got my first investment, and I came back out to LA. And my goal is to do whatever it takes to get this completed, and then I'm going to sell it for a minimum of $500 million and call it a day.
Nice. I gave you my card, right?
Yes.
Now, poverty, is it the same what I used to live in Compton? That kind of poverty, or is that your real name? Or?
Yeah. Poverty was my performance name, and I got it because I used to be homeless on the streets. Oh, really? And my mom was like a really bad drug addict, prostitute, in and out of jail. She ran prostitute. She ran like drug houses, prostitute houses, whatever you would call it, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I grew up in that environment. Like it was no joke. I mean, we had police raided our apartments and all kinds of stuff. Wow. And it was really, really bad. Like we lived on the streets a lot. She would lose everything. We'd wind up homeless again in another city, sleeping on the streets, like whatever. And I got dragged around in that life. And then I was hanging out with a friend of mine, and I was writing down ideas for songs and different subjects, and I wrote the name Poverty. And he came up and he said, that one. And I said, what do you mean that one? And he's like, oh, are those names? You think about names of calling yourself? And I was like, no. And he was like, oh, I was going to say you should call yourself Poverty because of like who you are, your story and everything. And it kind of resonated with me. And then I won a battle about a week later, my first battle competition. It was like 32 rappers, and it was in Dover, New Hampshire. And I rapped at this place and won. Wow. And then they came up and they asked me, what's your rap name? And I was like, Poverty. That was it. Just ran with it.
So, just because we can get down like this, one of those early songs, if you can feel it, you did some freestyle on the train that day, but I needed to know what the hell was going on, man, with this thing, man. And just kind of take yourself back to that place, man, and spit something that reflects how you feeling right now.
Oh, man. You want me to rap?
You can call it whatever you want to.
Poetry,
just whatever you're feeling, whatever you got on your heart to say that is, the way that you get on.
That's rough.
No, it ain't.
Unexpected freestyle.
Well, I've never been a freestyler. I'm a writer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, so something that you wrote.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. But I mean, like, I'm trying to think of like what would be something that
you feeling. I mean, you either feel it or you don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here's something. This is just something fun. Recently, it was like, all right. Somebody, please give a brother a chance. Wait till I make me a couple of bands. I'm in the dance in the funniest pants. Start rubbing my hands on your uppity fans. Sunning your camp, running your fam. Stunningly cunning, discourage your plans. Kicking your kids and punching your gramps. Then flying to Tuscany, London, and France. Look at me going on one of my rants. Look at how I get you stuck in the trance. Dizzy as fuck throwing up in a van from sensitive hearing and colors enhanced. Damn. damn, all of these rappers not shunning their man. With all of these women not shunning their man. Rappers complaining while bumping my jam. Tommy be doing what none of us can. Fucking right, cause I'm the fucking man. You king sucker of the sucker land. You a knucklehead and I'm a rubber band where I bounce back. I'm a winner, entertainment fan. I'm down in Indiana with your little bitty on a mini camera, getting busy handling my big banana, sipping liquor, showing me your titties and a booty. $1 million cutie on my care package like it's Call of Duty. Getting thicker quicker when I stick it in her, feeling full like she just had a chicken dinner. I'm Thor's hammer, smashing down on your poor grammar. I'm Lord Commander, I'm Seinfeld and your George Costanza. I'm that blessed when you're mediocrity at best. I'm double D's and your padded brows on a flat chest.
Really?
That's just, like I said, it's just fun. I'm just having fun.
Busta Rhymes, watch out. Watch out.
Think about it. He was sitting up here trying to act like, what am I going? Man, get the fuck out of here, man. That's just something you do. It's something that you do.
Yeah, no, I know.
And
I just
was, art. Yeah, man, it's just something that you do, man. So, Roy, I had another question for you. This past draft,
I'm not rapping, Bobby.
No, I know that.
I love that.
And I called him, man, on a couple of occasions in my outrage that Lamar Jackson damn near fell out of the first round. What's your assessment of his prospects of becoming a great NFL quarterback?
He's got a chance. The next level is a next level, and he was great in college. I don't know if that can transfer over to the pros. He's on the smaller side, so a couple of them hits are going to tell him, going to wake him up a little bit. But he's got great talent. He's got a great arm, and I give him likeness to the kid in Houston who came out a couple years ago.
Yeah. Shucks.
He was tearing the league up before he got hurt.
Yeah. From Clemson.
Yeah, from Clemson. Special.
He's
going to be special.
Winner. I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah, he's going to be special.
What's his? Who is it?
It's from Clemson. I forget.
You got some. Oh, okay.
The kid from Clemson, he was a Heisman Trophy winner.
I think he won the Heisman as well.
He did. Right. Yeah.
Was it this year? This last season?
No,
he
the
might
year
be
before.
2 years in the league now.
He was in his rookie year, tearing the league apart, and he blew his knee out.
Right.
Oh man, I can't think of his name.
And I'm trying to tip my tongue too. It's crazy.
God Almighty! But the reason I asked that question, race still matters in everything, unfortunately, and that was one of the reasons I was excited about being able to bring you on the show because you're the first. No, you're the first white. I had another guy who's mixed race, but you're the first guest that I've had since I've been doing this show that is from another hue. Okay? Not that matters to me on a personal level, but I'm not going to act like we ain't got a real racial problem in this country right now. And I'm going to ask both of y'all as we begin to wrap up the show, what will it take to get past the mess that we find ourselves in right now in terms of the hostilities and the animosities that have got people just grinding their teeth when they see each other on the street, man, if they're not of the same persuasion?
You want to go first?
That's tough. You go first and last. I'd like to hear your answer.
I'd say to just sum it up, I think people in general just need to stop speaking in generalities. I think generalizations are just killing everything. It's like, and social media is only making it worse. But yeah, it's like, and I don't care who you're talking about. When you say, well, white guys, you're generalizing. When you say, well, women, like, you have one of those boys that say, oh, your woman did you wrong? Yeah, women do that. Yeah. Oh, so all women do that? Anytime that you generalize, which is why the president sounds like a complete idiot every time he talks, because that's all he does is speak in generalities. But we just need to do away with him completely. And because a lot of it, I feel like it stems from a lack of education and just straight up ignorance. Like if some white dude who's born and raised in the middle of some hokey poke East bumfuck town in Iowa, and he's never been in a black community or a Mexican community, he doesn't know anything about that culture other than maybe what he's seen on TV or what he heard, comedians talk about or rappers talk about or whatever. So he's ignorant to that culture. So when he goes in that culture, he might make a statement like, oh, well, you're black, you like basketball, right? That doesn't mean all black people like basketball. It just means he doesn't know any better. And I think we have to realize the line between this sort of ignorance in this sort of like these sort of generalizations based on ignorance versus racism, and being able to differentiate the two of those things. We do have, I think, and always have a systemic problem that has been happening over the course of time for a long time. But I think that I think we should focus, all of us, no matter who you are, should focus on how all the things that we have managed to do to get better as a country and how far we've come from where we used to be. And I think that gets overlooked a lot. It kind of reminds me, not to make like an analogy to hip hop, but everybody always talks about how everywhere I go, they're like, man, rap is so bad now. Nobody can rap anymore. But what they forget is that rap is a black art form that was born in the United States. And I remember when it came out, everybody, all the white powers that be, were like, oh, that shit will never last and it's a fad. And now rock is dead. Rock and roll is dead. Like, you can't even be a band and succeed anymore. My stepdaughter is the niece of Alice in Chains lead singer Lane Staley. And I tried to tell her, like, do you realize who your dad is, what a legend he is? She was like, I don't care. She's like, no one likes rock. And she's 12. Like, rock and roll is dead. And the fact that hip hop is still alive, and yeah, it sounds different. They do different things, different styles, and change things, auto-tune and all. But you have to, because if everyone was still doing what Nas did 20 years ago, rap would die because people would be over that shit. Right. So the fact that it has gotten as big as it's gotten, and it's altered what we consider pop is now hip hop. What we consider rock is now hip hop. Like, rock bands are trying to come with these rhythms and rap rhythm style. Like, rap, like, not only is still alive, but it changed everything. And it's like, but everybody always focuses on the negative. And I feel like that's sort of what it is with our country too, is like, we have so many things that we have managed to do to help everybody, whether it's women, whether it's gay rights, whether it's black men, whether it's Latinos, any kind of minority. We're constantly evolving, and we're still not there yet. We still have a lot of work to do. And I think anybody who acts like we don't, which is the problem with a lot of people who live in white America that still believe like, oh no, that was all, those are problems, 40 years ago. They don't exist anymore. They're delusional. They still exist. But on the same token, we're way better now than we have been, and we continue to grow, because there is no one thing that makes America great is that no matter who you are, whether you're black, white, tall, short, fat, skinny, old, young, it really doesn't matter. We know that this country isn't perfect, and we are always collectively striving to make it better constantly.
Okay, I'm gonna allow you to change the we to I, because most people didn't get that memo yet. But thankfully, you're here representing that state of mind that we hope to impregnate people with. We ain't there. They're trying to make America white again right now, and that's just the way it is. But I'm thankful that you have that spirit, and I want you to come back and sit with me some more and share some more of your stories. Big Rod, thank you, man, for letting me be myself. OG Portis, once again, this sister, man, allows this to happen every Tuesday, and I owe her a debt of gratitude for allowing me to bring models of possibility and best practices into the Crenshaw district right here. This is Morris Media Studios. And we're done for today, man. Thank both of y'all, man, for letting me be myself again.
It's good to meet you, too.
We'll see you next week.
This went by.